Am I the a-hole for being mad at my parents that they got my older brother a car for his 18th birthday and not on mine? And then causing the whole family to be up in arms about it till they came through? Okay, I know the title sounds like I'm spoiled, but hear me out. My brother 20 got a car for his 18th birthday. Not a new car or anything. It was a 20-year-old Lexus that was in pretty good shape. And he rubbed it in my face for the rest of the time he was in senior year of high school. Compared with my brother, I get just as good of grades as he does. Better in some cases even. I worked my hardest in the hope of fairness. And I even did some volunteering cleaning up garbage in my local area. Then my 18th birthday came and went a few weeks ago. And the only thing I wanted, the only thing I was hoping for, was a car. I wasn't expecting something like a new car or a sporty car. Just something reliable like my brother got. The party wasn't even anything like my brother's 18th. For his 18th, my mom baked the cake herself. It was a delicious layered chocolate pudding cake, while I got a sheet cake from the supermarket. For his, they got a DJ. For mine, it was my dad's old boombox with a couple of mixed CDs. We went through the whole party, and I figured my parents might have just been waiting to spring a surprise gift on me, but that didn't happen. I asked them as things were wrapping up why there was no car when my brother got one. And they said that they felt like he'd worked harder for it. I asked what he did that I didn't do, because I did all of that and more. My grandma was nearby and heard everything, and then she asked them why as well. She ended up lecturing my parents that she was very, very, very disappointed in them for showing favoritism. Then she proceeded to announce to everyone still there that my parents thought it's fine to get their firstborn son a car and a DJ, but not their second. And then she even pointed out how much harder my parents tried for my brother's 18th birthday than they had for mine. My uncle was the first to stand up and say something, then everyone else who had not left yet. I ended up just walking away and going to my room to sit and think. I got a few I'm sorry calls from relatives, and my grandparents convinced me to go out with them for the evening. But when I got back, my parents were pissed and told me I'd shamed them to the whole family. I just walked past them because I didn't want to fight. The next few weeks went by with a silent treatment between us. But then a few days ago, my parents suddenly surprised me with a white 98 Subaru Legacy that runs great. They practically threw the keys and the title in an envelope at me and said to have fun. I got the car and they're paying for insurance for the next 6 months like they did for my brother. I know a car isn't a really right, but a privilege, so I feel like I've essentially blackmailed my parents into getting me one. Am I the a-hole for how all this played out? Edit. I would like to clarify a few things. My parents make pretty good money and also don't go out of their way to live lavishly by choice. They've always been moderate in everything they buy or do. Though if anything is stretching their finances, it's my brother's college tuition. He got a partial scholarship and my parents are paying the rest. I don't and never intended to ask for the same treatment than that. I want to work and pay my own student loans. Now that I have the car, I'm already looking into getting a part-time job. This also isn't a gender thing as I'm male like my brother. The bill of sale for the car I got says my parents paid $1,600 for it, while my brother's car cost them about $3,000+ if I remember. But I don't see it as a money issue. I actually really loved a Subaru and told my parents so, though they did not share my enthusiasm. I also did try to talk about a car with my parents a few times last year, but they always dodged the conversations about the topic. I figured if I talked about it too much, it'd ruin it, and so I stopped. I would have felt like a brat to keep talking about getting an imaginary car, so I learned to just stay silent and hope. I can't go stay with my grandparents because they live in a one-bedroom condo. There isn't enough room for other people. After all their kids grew up, my grandparents decided to downsize to make their eventual retirement easier. Also, my grandparents know all of the details already, and they tell me that I didn't do anything wrong, and we're already planning on confronting my parents quietly over the car issue. But they took the chance to take care of the matter when they heard me asking my parents about it. As for my brother's 18th birthday party, it was held in 2020 during basically the height of the pandemic. Honestly, we shouldn't have had a big party like that at a time, but my parents insisted. As for my brother himself, he barely speaks to me, even before he left for college. He didn't show up at my 18th birthday party, and I figured that's just because he's busy with college and he's not even in the same state as us anymore. Honestly, I haven't seen or heard from him since Christmas, and even then, the most I got out of him was a mild greeting. I did thank my parents for the car. Enthusiastically thanked them even, but they've barely said a word to me after giving me the Subaru. And when I thanked my parents, they brushed me off and just went inside. It kind of gave off the vibe that they were letting a brat play with this new toy, which was pretty upsetting and one of the reasons I made this post. Added to, there was one more thing I forgot to say. I was really hoping to get the car because I literally couldn't get a part-time job without one. We don't live in the city and we're 10 miles from the nearest public bus stop. I've always had to get rides to go anywhere. Now that I have the car, I intended to look for a part-time after-school job as soon as I can. Now for the top comments. Can we give it up for your grandma? She's awesome. I would have been bummed out too if my siblings received a car and I didn't. Cars are expensive. Did your parents explain why you weren't initially getting a car and why no effort was put into your birthday? Not day haul, by the way. My siblings all got their first cars bought for them and I paid for my own. Always bummed me out, but it is what it is. And I felt like it was more important to me because I'd earned that car and paid for it with my own money. However, it does suck to feel like they were favored over me, so I get how Opie feels. Same here. Middle child, brother got a car bought for him. Sister got a car bought for her, which was quite a nice car, and she decided she didn't like it, so they bought her another one and kept the one she didn't like for dad. I paid for my own, about half the price of either of their initial cars. I love that car though. Ran like a dream. Not day home. The way they got called out by the whole family is hilarious. They're mad they got caught. Good on you, Opie. You just know the parents were ready to revise history and downplay all of Opie's accomplishments, but Grandma didn't let them. Go, Grandma. Opie, your parents were showing obvious favoritism. This isn't Cinderella. They got named and shamed in front of the whole family as they deserve. It's so satisfying to see how the rest of the family stepped in to set things straight. Please don't let this shake your confidence in yourself. You worked hard, and even if your parents refuse to see it, you will meet so many people in your life that will love, appreciate, and respect the effort you put in. Be kind to yourself, Opie. You are not a home. Not stay home. Golden child BS/favoritism should not be condoned. Good for you that your family stood up for you and you eventually got a car. The manner of which isn't pleasant, but it was worth sticking to your guns. If I was Opie, I'd start staying closer to grandma and uncle instead of these dog crap parents. What pathetic parents, lol, have to be called out by family to just do the basics of treating their kids fairly and decently. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdad it's not my job to be a good influence for his kids? This is the dumbest argument I've ever had with adults. I'm 16 female, the steps are 14 female, 10 male, and 9 female. My mom and their dad have been dating a little over a year and are engaged. We just all moved into a new place together because the parents want to blend the families, and no one but them are happy about it. The steps and I made an agreement before they moved in that we all just leave each other alone because none of us want a new family. But if they need an emergency lift or help with something when the parents aren't around, that's fine. The AITA issue started because I'm a serious athlete, so my lifestyle has to be pretty healthy. I worked out a lot and I meal prep most of my own food to make sure I keep up with my nutrition plan. The step family have a very different way of doing things, and that's causing some friction. I don't care what shape or size they are just to throw that in there. It's none of my business. But stepdad has started like using me as an object lesson to the kids. Opie always eats really healthy, we should probably all be doing that. And maybe Opie could give us some pointers and we could do a family gym night. That kind of thing. It's really upsetting the 14-year-old especially, I think, because she's kind of sensitive about her size, and having me around isn't helping with that already. Over the weekend, I was making a shopping list for meal prep for the week when stepdad brings the 14-year-old in and says, "Hey Opie, stepsis would like to try your meal plan out. Can you walk her through it?" This is a dumbass getaway. My diet won't work for her because I spend a lot of extra calories a day most days. And I'm not a nutritionist to figure out what she needs. But also, she looks like she wants to die on the spot. So I say, "Stepsis, do you really want to do this?" She says no. So I tell her dad that he probably needs to just back off because this is really sucky for everyone. He says, I just think her seeing how you do things would be a good influence. And I'm like, I'm not here to be a good influence on your kids. That's your job. So now I'm in trouble for being disrespectful. And we had to have this big family meeting about all getting along and helping each other. And I got in more trouble for telling them, that's rich, because they didn't care what any of us thought about anything when they were making decisions. But I don't really think any of this is even helpful. Like, it would be different if the other kids want to get fit. It's still not a job for me, but I could try to do a support. Not stay home. It's stepdad's job to model healthy eating and exercise to his kids. Instead, he decided to body shame a teenage girl by comparing the two of you. Opie is standing up for her stepsister and being a more supportive family member than her own father is being. She's doing family blending better than dad is. Harping kids about their weight is never going to help. It is a one-way ticket to an eating disorder and bad body image. Opie's right. If he wants his kids to start eating better, he needs to be cooking healthy meals for everyone. Not stay home. You ask her about what she wanted, something your stepdad clearly needs to work on. You are being a good role model, whether he wants to see it or not, by showing the kids respect and that their voices are heard. Keep it up. Opie, you are not day hall and already a role model, and it seems like you've got your stepsisters back even though you didn't sign up for that. I graduate in May with a degree in nutrition, and what stepdad was suggesting is literally the opposite of what his daughter needs from a nutrition standpoint, unless she's actually getting the same amount of intense physical activity. And even then, the portions would have to be adjusted to fit her particular needs. Sports nutrition is entirely different from lifestyle nutrition, and the proportion of protein and other nutrients can be very excessive, and actually unhealthy for someone not getting the adequate amount of physical activity to utilize the excess nutrients. While stepdad's intentions may be good, he definitely needs to take a step back before it actually causes physical harm. That's what I thought. My diet is set up and checked regularly by a sports nutritionist, and I only know what I need for me and what my dad does for powerlifting. Even he tells people who train with him to see a professional for nutrition, because DIY can be dangerous when you need to cut a lot. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my mother-in-law spend the night in my bedroom and lock the door? Context. My husband, male 34, and I, female 26, got married 9 months ago. We live in a different town from his parents, and his mom visited us unexpectedly on Friday. Now, to give some context about my mother-in-law, she is okay-ish but has no respect for her son's privacy and, by extension, mine. When it was time to go to bed, mother-in-law requested that we let her sleep in the bedroom, on the master bed. Not just that, but lock the door as well because she explained she can't feel comfortable enough to sleep without locking the door. I found this bizarre, but I politely declined and suggested other options like the guest room, couch, and air mattress. But no, she turned around and presented these options to me. My husband agreed, but I said no, and this initiated an argument between her and I. During the argument, I pointed out how I didn't want to be kept out of my room and away from my stuff, but she lashed out at my husband saying, "Don't you just stand there? Say something." My husband told me to let her, it's just one night, but I told her those were all the options I had for her, and if she didn't like them, then I could book her in a hotel. She took it as in I was kicking her out and started crying, which made my husband upset. She left at 12 a.m. and my husband blew up saying I disrespected his mom who was a guest at our house and treated her poorly. He then reminded me it's our bedroom, not just mine, and I acted horribly to her, causing her to go stay at a hotel in the middle of the night. He went to book a room in the same hotel as her and turned his phone off. The next day, she went home and told the family, who berated me, calling my behavior towards mother-in-law abhorrent and loathsome. Now my husband is complaining about how I keep trying to ruin his relationship with his family and push them away. But I want to know if I was really the a-hole. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Girl, I would get a divorce ASAP. These kinds of relationships never last for a long time. He is not able to see the disrespect his mother is giving both of you guys. Run. Edit. Never thought my first most liked comment on Reddit would be an advice to get divorced. I wanted to say this but didn't. Glad someone did though. I mean, I just told her what I would do. She probably want to lock the room so she can snoop around. See, that's exactly what I thought too. LMAO. She probably did room checks on husband when he lived with her, and she's dying for the snooping fix. It's either that or she's such a control freak that this is her way of marking her territory. She needs to feel important so badly, and the only way she feels that can happen is if she stomps all over her son's new wife's boundaries, as in lifts her leg on both physical and emotional boundaries. She probably wants to snoop too, but I think the former is probably the main issue. Not stay home. My husband blew up saying I disrespected his mom who was a guest at our house. That she can use the guest room. She clearly had ulterior motives here. There is every chance she planned to snoop. Yeah, I have important and highly personal stuff that I keep in my bedroom. Not stay home. It's creepy that she wants to sleep in a room you and your husband, her son, share. Especially with that insane amount of pushback she was giving and looking at her son to step in, only makes this worse than it needs to be. Husband is acting like a mama's boy and needs to see his mom is totally in the wrong. I'm a mama's boy, but this guy must be a whipped mama's boy. Only time I've let my mom or parents sleep in the master bed was when my wife and I lived in home/apartments that were one bedroom and when visiting us. We didn't feel it was fair to them to have to sleep on an uncomfortable couch or an air mattress. But we insisted, not them demanding to sleep there. This lady definitely wanted to snoop. And her husband, hell, the whole family, needs a reality check. Not stay home.